Rita Frances Dove, born on August 28, 1952, in Akron, Ohio, is an American poet. Her father was one of the first black chemists in the tire industry, and since she was young, her mother strongly encouraged her to study and read a variety of books and types of literature. Dove fell in love with poetry and music, and she even played the cello while she was in high school. Dove was an outstanding student and was named a Presidential Scholar as one of the top 100 high school graduates in the United States, and was invited to the White House. She ended up studying at Miami University, where she graduated summa cum laude in 1973 with a bachelor's degree in English. This is when she began to think about her future as a writer more seriously. Dove also studied German for 2 years at the University of Tübingen with a full scholarship. Then, she received a master's degree in 1977 at the University of Iowa, where she met a German writer named Fred Weben, who she married in 1979. The couple had their daughter, Aviva, in 1983. Over the years that she grew up and was influenced by as a writer, several important events happened that influenced her writings. For example, she grew up during the Civil Rights Movement, which, from 1954 to 1968, was a struggle for social justice and racial equality under the law in the United States, spearheaded by Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. This event certainly had a large impact on Rita Dove, and many of her poems and her activism later on in life was influenced by the Civil Rights Movement. The 1970s, which was right before Dove published her first poetry collection, was also a time of great strides for racial justice in the United States. For example, in 1971, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that federal courts could include busing as a tool for desegregation. And in 1973 came the famous landmark case, McDonnell Douglas v. Green, in which the Supreme Court established a way for the courts to prove intentional racial discrimination. For 8 years, Dove was an instructor at Arizona State University, where she taught creative writing. In 1980, Dove published her first poetry collection, named The Yellow House on the Corner. Dove also wrote poetry based on the stories of people she knew. For example, she published a poetry collection titled Thomas and Beulah in 1986, which was inspired by the lives of her grandparents. This poetry collection won the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry. She also has written about the battles of the Civil Rights era and the accomplishments of George Bridgetower, who was an African-European violinist, in her poem collection named Sonata Melodica. To recognize Dove for her success in the field of poetry, Dove was appointed as a Poet Laureate of the United States and a consultant in poetry to the Library of Congress. She was the first African American to receive this honor in the United States, and at 40 years old, she was also the youngest. With her position, she traveled to perform her poetry in order to generate public interest in the literary arts. Critics have also noted the way that she helped encourage diversity in the field of literature through her activism and influence. In 1994, during the 200th anniversary of the United States Capitol, Dove was invited to read her poem, Lady Freedom Among Us, at the ceremony, demonstrating her recognition and fame in the field of poetry. And from 2004 to 2006, Dove was Virginia's State Poet Laureate. However, Dove did not only write poetry, she also produced several collections of short stories and novels as well. In 2011, President Barack Obama presented Dove with the National Medal of Arts, and in 2014, a full-length documentary about her was produced. She is also the recipient of 25 honorary degrees from universities, including Yale University, Emory University, Harvard University, and the University of Virginia. Universities also frequently invite her to their campuses as a commencement speaker. Over the years, all of Dove's awards and recognitions are all testament to her success and the vast influence she has had in the literary arts in the United States.
Dawn Revisited by Rita Dove. Imagine you wake up with a second chance. The blue jay hawks his pretty wires and the oak stands still, spreading glorious shade. If you don't look back, the future never happens. How good to rise in sunlight to the prodigious smell of biscuits, eggs, and sausage on the grill. The whole sky is yours to write on, blown open to a blank page. Come on, shake a leg. You'll never know what's down there, frying those eggs, if you don't get up and see.
This is a paraphrase of Dawn Revisited by Rita Dove. Picture you awakening with another opportunity. The blue bird does what he does, and the tree is still there giving its magnificent shade. If you don't acknowledge your past, you will never progress forward. It's a good feeling to wake up in the morning, in the lavish aroma of a wholesome breakfast cooking up. The whole world is yours to start writing on a new page. Get up and move. You will miss an opportunity to discover something new if you don't go and seek for it.
Chocolate by Rita Dove. Velvet fruit, exquisite square. I hold up to sniff between finger and thumb. How you numb me with your rich attentions. If I don't eat you quickly, you'll melt in my palm. Pleasure seeker, if I let you, you liquefy everywhere. Not a smoke, dark punch of earth, and night and leaf. For a taste of you, any woman would gladly crumble to ruin. Enough chatter. I am ready to fall in love.
This is a paraphrase of Chocolate by Rita Dove. Smooth fruit, amazing square, I grasp it to smell between my fingers. How you deprive my senses with your lavish attentions. If I don't consume you fast, you'll soften in my hand. Delight searcher, if I allow you, you dissolve in all places. Smokiness, distinct taste notes of the earth and darkness and leaf to taste you. All women would happily destroy themselves. Now, less talking. I am prepared to be enamored.
Chocolate is a romantic poem by Rita Dove which depicts the speaker, a young woman admiring a chocolate treat on her first date, until finally deciding to start a long-lasting relationship with a man she adores. The central object and the title itself, chocolate, is an allusion towards 20th and 21st century love, where boxes of chocolate are symbols of the affection between two lovers. Dove constructs a certain buildup of passion with each stanza of the poem, each gradually becoming more and more emotional than the last. From initially a basic curiosity for chocolate, to the enjoyment of chocolate, then an unresistible desire of the speaker towards chocolate, and finally the succumbing of the speaker towards the chocolate treats. The visual imageries of the melting and liquefying features of chocolates generate an observant tone that made it believable to the audience that all along the speaker was just simply expressing her love for chocolate treats. It isn't until the last two lines where Dove reveals that the speaker is actually in love, and that it was not chocolate that she was admiring, instead it was the man in front of her. It was the love of the man that has interest and numbed the young female speaker, which initially found it curious to enjoyable, then a desire for the man's love, and finally succumbing to his love, similar to how the speaker would succumb to her love to the one and only chocolate.